Hi, Peter. Thanks for joining me
Hello.
again.
You bet, Steve. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. We are talking about the rise in skyscraper vacancies, although there's a lot of granularity in this data. Let's throw some of it out there. This is based on Moody's Analytics, and their data is indicating that buildings with 20 or more floors have seen their average vacancies continue to rise over the past 6 months. Small and medium-sized buildings actually experienced vacancy declines during that same period of time. However, high floor office buildings consisting of 20 or more floors consistently had lower vacancy rates than those lower medium-sized buildings. And buildings in metros with a moderate amount of high floor skyscrapers have struggled more compared to their larger and smaller counterparts. So, some city specific data here is we've seen Pittsburgh, their high floor office buildings experience a 4.3 vacancy increase. Denver and Boston, respectively, each of these have also seen vacancy rates grow almost 3%. Seattle, Dallas, Charlotte also saw vacancy rates rise since the start of 2023. They rose by about 2 points. New York and Chicago have recently seen vacancy declines. In New York, the vacancy decreased from about 13.4 to 13.2, so not a huge move there. Um, and then Los Angeles and San Francisco, those are the only two metros with 50 or more high floor office buildings that are suffering from vacancy rises this year. So a lot of this data kind of goes to urban cores, to the office market. Um, but just some of your thoughts as we do look at some of the struggles we're seeing around high rises and filling them up.
I think my first thought is supply and demand. Um, the large metros are oversupplied and have been, and the building continued because the money was cheap, and repurposing old buildings, tearing them down, and building skyscrapers was a big attraction for investment pools. Um, Take a look at where this is not happening. Uh, Houston, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. There are skyscrapers there, but there's far more uh, six, seven, eight story buildings than there are 20 and 30-story buildings. And those markets are not suffering the way New York is and the other large metros. So it is a supply demand situation, and the demand has decreased in some of the big cities. Now it'll probably come back. Uh, New York seems to be able to weather any storm thrown its way, but others are going to be a little slower to come back, it seems to me.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think some of the things that do jump out here is, well, LA and San Francisco, as the only two metros with 50 or more high floor office buildings that are seeing vacancies rise. And we've separately talked about San Francisco, and there's some uniquely bad things happening in that market where I think you just have to almost throw San Francisco out as an outlier. And then to your point, um, Atlanta or Houston, they may have relatively high vacancy rates, but the vacancies are declining. So we're definitely seeing areas in the Sun Belt where there might have been some overbuilt issues, but the appetite seems pretty strong. And I think that's a good point you bring out is there's kind of two things going on here is one is the supply and demand dynamic where there was a lot of supply getting brought into these markets. And then the other one is just well, that's the supply side. And the other one's the demand. And I think on the demand side, we kind of continue to see kind of that Sun Belt area doing better than say the coastal or the Northeast zones. But you obviously have to look at both, where is supply? Was it overbuilt in some of these areas, as you point out, were? And then you have to look at where's demand trending. And you can certainly see LA to a degree, certainly San Francisco. They've got some real demand issues there where in SF really demand's fallen off a cliff. Even despite some positive things, like we separately talked about artificial intelligence driving up some demand in San Francisco, just not enough to offset the other demand issues they have there. So I think you're right to kind of point specifically at the supply issues, and then look at those in conjunction with the demand issues. Good talking to you, Peter. Appreciate the insights.
Likewise, Steve. I always enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you.